Heidi here from Rain Country Homestead. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to make some orange pumpkin bread. This is my own recipe. It was one I made up on the fly a while back, and I'm hoping to repeat it the best I can since I just made it up based on just a basic pumpkin bread recipe. And then I take it and add my own flares. So, flares? Plural? Alright, so what I have here, and I normally don't lay things out like this, but I'm trying to make it so it's easy to follow. So I have 4 eggs. I'm going to use a total of 3 cups of flour. I'm going to start with an organic unbleached white flour, and in here I have a tablespoon of, well, it's better than a tablespoon of baking powder. And I'm going to be putting in my own home ground, well, it's not my own wheat, but wheat that I ground myself, white wheat, flour. I'm hoping I have, oh, I was right, pretty close to 2 cups. That's good. I was going to make this out of all whole wheat, but since it's going to be a little bit heavy anyway with all the other ingredients, usually on breads like this I try to do at least a little bit of white flour to keep it, just to keep it a little lighter. Okay, I just like my fork for this kind of stuff when I have this much at a time. So you're just going to take your dry ingredients like that, a little bit of salt, maybe half to about a teaspoon. That's about a half teaspoon. I don't want to get too much in there. Make sure it's a good colored salt, not a, well, look into what it is. I'm going to be adding some seeds. I've got hemp seed, about a 1/4 cup of each. That's not quite a 1/4 cup, that's more like just a couple of tablespoons. So how about we say 2 tablespoons of each of the seed. And a couple tablespoons of my dried orange peel, organic, right into the bread, right into the flour. Okay, then you're going to have your spices, and this is going to vary according to how much you want to use. I like a lot. Cloves, typically a lot of recipes will only have a 1/4 teaspoon. I use about a teaspoon, up to a teaspoon of cloves, at least 1 to 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, which is what I've got here. At least a teaspoon of ginger. And then I'm going to grate some nutmeg into it. Nutmeg is one of those things that's best if you can, instead of storing it, store it whole when you store it. You don't want to buy it ground and then store it. This is just the best way. I'm just going to grate some of that in there. Just kind of, I guess, I don't know how much. Anywhere from a 1/4 teaspoon to a half teaspoon is good. Okay, and so there is pretty much all those dry ingredients, not counting the sugar. Okay, so I've got those in this bowl. I'm just going to kind of blend them together a little bit. You can see. Now let me switch these bowls out. Got my 4 eggs. I pulled the whisk out because, yes, I do actually use my whisk, and I had a subscriber question me why I don't use a whisk more. And, you know, it was a good question. And a lot of times I just like my big fork for a lot of the things I do. The whisk is easier for certain things, but not everything. Not for me anyway. Alright, and then what I have here is 2 cups of homegrown organic pumpkin. What I've been doing with my pumpkin is freezing it like this. However, I still, you know, it bothers me that I'm still having to use plastic to do this. But in these food saver bags, it takes up less space than freezing it in jars. I think what I'm going to start doing is canning it in chunks, because you don't want a home canned pumpkin when it's pureed. You can can it when it's in chunks. So I might do this next time around when I grow more pumpkin. I don't grow it every year because it takes up so much room in the garden. I just, like one year I just grew a whole bunch, and that was 2 years ago. Last year I focused more on zucchini. This year I think I still have a lot of pumpkin left, but I think this year I think I'm gonna grow some pumpkin this year. Okay, so 2 cups of the pumpkin. Getting that mixed together real well, and then you're gonna want a cup of oil, and I recommend a good avocado oil. This one you can find at Costco. You can also find it on Amazon, so I'll link it below in case you don't have a Costco next to you. I usually have my boys pick this up for me when they go to Costco, because we don't actually have a Costco membership anymore. Well, we do. We could just let it expire years ago because we just don't get into town that much. It's not that important to us. So you're going to need a cup of oil. I got another bottle out because I wasn't sure if there was a whole cup in here, but it looks like I have that. A lot of oil, so you want to make sure it's a good healthy oil. This one I really like because there's no flavor to it, so it's not going to change the taste of whatever you're using it in. And whenever I'm doing something like this, I don't like to use coconut oil much because it's always a little colder here where we're at, so it tends to kind of want to solidify and clump up. So avocado is really good for this. You could also use a good grapeseed oil. You just want to make sure with grapeseed that you definitely get organic. Okay, so I've got my seeds, I got all my spices in there. So that's all done. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to mix this all together. And I hope I'm remembering everything. I've got my leavening agent. Oh, I forgot the sugar. I forgot the sugar, folks. Got to add the sugar. So what I'm using today is a 1 cup of coconut sugar, and I get that on Amazon, and I'll link to that below. And obviously I needed a bigger bowl. I always forget how much this makes because I don't do breads like this that often. It's just kind of a special treat. And then I'm going to do 1 cup of the organic cane sugar, evaporated. It still has a little bit of the molasses in it, so it's still got a lot of good minerals and stuff in there. And so we're just going to mix this together real good. Okay, so after tasting the batter, I decided it needs more spices. So I went ahead and added a little bit more clove and ginger and cinnamon. And I'm going to put that much more orange peel in it. Again, people, I don't remember how much I used last time because I didn't write it down. I just made it up as I went. Thankfully, I keep base recipes for pumpkin and banana bread. And then that way I can work off of those bases and, you know, and just kind of change things as I go. Like this recipe here would probably take about 3.5 cups of flour. But since I put a lot of seed and other stuff in there, I cut back a 1/2 cup on the flour. Alright, so I have my cast iron bread pans, and I got mine from Amazon. I'm sure if you have a store that carries a lot of the Lodge cast iron, you can find these there. I did have to get mine online, so I'll link to these below. But anyway, I like to put just a little extra coconut oil in there and then get these good and hot. I do this no matter what kind of bread I'm making. And then of course you're going to put half of your batter into one and half into the other. Alright, so this is ready to go in the oven. I'm sticking this in my toaster oven, and that's going to be at 350 for about 50 minutes to an hour. So I'm going to be checking on that. Alright, so you see here I have my organic belly 50/50. You could also use whipping cream. I've got my homemade powdered sugar. You can find a video of that up there in that eye. So I'm going to start with about, this would be about a 1/4 cup. I'll put a little bit more in there. And then I'm going to use a good amount of the powdered orange peel. That's probably about 2 tablespoons. And then, actually, I forgot, I want a little bit of vanilla. maybe up to a teaspoon. And you can find out how to make your own vanilla right up there. And then I'm just going to add my half and half whipping cream, or even water if you choose, a little bit at a time. Okay, this is close. This is still too thick because I want to be able to drizzle it. And you have to keep in mind too with the orange peel, it's going to also soak up some liquid, and it's going to get very thick. So that's pretty much where I want it. Now by the time I go put it on the pumpkin bread, the orange peel may have soaked up a lot of the liquid, and I may end up wanting to add more liquid, but we'll see when we get there. So I'm just going to drizzle this over the top, and you know what? I'm thinking that doesn't look like enough. I'm going to go ahead and whip up some more. So I got my bread out of the pans, and love those cast iron, well-seasoned pans. The bread just slides right out, no problem. And so I'm ready to put the icing on. I got a pretty good consistency there. It's going to be a little bit lumpy because of the orange peel. So I'm going to just drizzle that on there. The bread is still warm. I let it cool in the pans a little bit. And I'm going to make sure Mr. Rain gets some nice orange pumpkin bread to go on his lunch tomorrow. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering why I'm not using my butcher block, some of you may know that shortly after making the video about it, I broke one of the handles off, one of the end pieces. So it is, Mr. Rain is getting it all fixed up and making it good and sturdy for my, you know, making it Heidi Mighty Mo proof, as Troll Forge would say. And he's doing a video on that, so Bumblebee, be watching for that in the future. But anyway, this cutting board that you see, now that I know all about what to do with it, I just started greasing it up, but we've had this since we were married, so it is about almost 27 years old. And at one point I broke it. And the darker wood pieces you see, it was just a solid part, and I broke it not quite in half, but just sort of off to the side. And so Mr. Rain put it back together and put in a couple of pieces of walnut, and that just kind of made it look more cool and made it a little bit bigger too, so that worked out good. Alright, so I'm going to let this set up and cool, and I'll finish putting the rest of this icing on, and then I'm going to slice the bread, and we'll see how it looks on the inside. Letting that icing drizzle all down the sides here. Kind of makes it look cool that way too. A spoon would probably be a little easier in some ways, but I sort of like the control I have with a fork. But when you get down to the bottom, you really need a spoon to get the last little bit out. But that's okay. I'm about there. Okay, so we're going to let the icing dry. And we'll let the bread finish cooling, and I'll cut it. I'll come back and I'll cut a couple pieces off so you can see what it looks like. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and cut into this bread. And we'll see what it looks like on the inside. Oh wow, look at that. Boy, does it smell good. Let's see. So there you have it. Orange pumpkin bread. So thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.